has anybody kind of signed up to those sorts of clauses, and what do they think is market in terms of, you know, both of the good leaver, bad leaver, and the sort of restrictions that you find yourself under if you decide to part ways with your angel? Has anyone got some...
We have a good leaver and bad leaver agreement, and if we leave the company, we're not allowed to set up any similar competitors for a certain amount of time, which is about a year.
So about a year in terms of the restrictions. Is that what most people expect to give up, or have you, the guys over here who've got money in, have you managed to do it without any of those restrictions or things like that in your case? Anybody want to? Lucian's going to tweet his answer.
Just on the phone to die.
Go on.
Our shareholders' agreement is about like half a page long or something, but it was proposed by the Angels and it wasn't to their advantage.
Right.
And more to mine, so there isn't really too much in there about that kind of thing.
Can I have the contact details of your Angels?
Doesn't it depend on the amount of money, right? The bigger the amount, the more it's going to be more litigious and there's going to be more parts to it. You know, some of the other angels, by nature, normally it's more of a friendly relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is actually.
I think you can definitely draw a distinction between, and I know no one here said they've raised money through an angel network, but I mean, when we have worked on network-based deals, we've seen much more of this is what we expect. Kind of, you're going to sign up to this, and we have a standard way of doing it. And I think maybe this is why I'm not getting the examples from the room. I guess when you are doing it, and let's face it, the best way to do it is you can get a check off somebody and off you go. You know, that's fantastic.
I was going to say, I think with ours also, because we had another partner coming in with us, that sort of brought a few more sort of interesting parts to the table. And I think, looking at startups in that way, like if you can bring a partner who has expertise into it, that sometimes can expedite the process. And I think we were quite lucky because we'd.
He doesn't know that we're streaming it. But I mean, just in terms of trying to extract something from it, is your angel? Have you got just one angel, or is he out of a network? Is it just one individual?
Three angels, but two are kind of together in the same company. So
right. Okay.
It's effectively two deals, but three angels.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Lucian, have you got one or?
Three came together in one.
Yeah.
Two online, so there's my points of contact and two maybe.
Right. Okay. But they're not through a formal network now, are they? No. So I mean, what you will find that with the formal networks, the people that basically join up expect a certain sort of formula to their investment. So I mean, that's what Dan was. I am conscious that we're running over time. But there's one thing I just wanted to touch on, which Dan was mentioned at the front end, and I'll ask Rachel. But you went through a disclosure exercise, presumably a due diligence exercise in your business.
Yeah.
And how long did that take?
Probably not terribly long actually. A couple
A couple of
of weeks.
weeks. Did you do a disclosure letter with your? Did you have a bunch of warranties in your document or
No.
not? You didn't.
No.
Okay.
Not particularly in depth.
Okay. Well, that's good. But all I would say is that the average deal that we see, there's normally warranties. They are normally not too long, but you can talk about 6 to 8 pages of stuff, right? And certainly if you're looking at the network deals, there's a whole, they do an inordinate amount of due diligence, both commercial and legal. And all I would say is that with all of the license, when you're building, all the licenses that your developers are using to build stuff if it's open source, all that sort of stuff, just print it off and stick it in a folder. Any contracts you're entering into, print them off and stick it in a folder. Confidentiality agreements, keep them and stick them in a folder. Because, as Dan has said, if you do have to, and most people do have to do a due diligence exercise and a disclosure exercise, you are going to have to get all that stuff together. And it's, frankly, a complete waste of time to have to start from scratch for that, if you can just keep a folder going and put it in as you're going along. So when you get asked the question, 80% of it is done there's only 20% more to do, instead of starting at ground zero and spending all night in the office trying to work out what on earth it was that you got all this stuff from. And I can see Evan is at the back there nodding his head sort of vigorously, which probably means that you've probably spent all night in the office doing that. Right,
Yeah.
so, but I mean, do that, and then it makes life a whole lot easier. It also conveys the impression that you're sort of a together outfit, so your investors are going to, that will instill confidence in them. It makes, frankly, drafting a disclosure letter a whole lot easier, because the one thing that we typically see, and Danvers is right to talk about the thing being the bespoke bit of it, everything else is pretty formulaic in terms of, you're just talking about negotiating tiny bits within these documents, but most of it is almost boilerplate type stuff that you're talking about. The disclosure letter isn't, and it takes all the time, and it's a learning curve for anybody. Every single one of these deals that you do, from angel to VC, to another VC, to another VC, to float or exit, if you haven't done them before, you're on a learning curve, and each one is a bit different. And it always takes a lot. I mean, someone said, I think it always took. I think you said, Rachel. It took a lot longer than you expected. And Rachel, didn't do a big lengthy disclosure exercise. And so what we sometimes see, not always, but sometimes, is you say, look, here are the warranties. Please read them. Tell us what's not true. And it ranges from everything's okay to maybe half a side of stuff, and that can get expensive. Because what you want to be doing is looking at really carefully and coming back. It really helps the lawyers and your fees if you look at it really carefully and come back with quite a detailed response. Because ultimately you end up writing the specific disclosures. Like, for example, so you might get a warranty, you own all the IPR, right? Well, you don't own all the IPR. You've either created it or you've licensed it in, and you need to set that all out, and then you need to set out the licenses that you've got it to. And there'll be something else that says, okay, you're in compliance with all your contractual obligations. And if you're not, you need to be saying that. So you need to basically be addressing everything that's in the warranty, the promise that you're making about the state of the business that is not quite correct. And then you need to either explain in the letter or with the VC, but put it in such a way that that doesn't create an issue. Because you say, but it doesn't matter because ... it's immaterial. And the reality is, it's not going to frighten them off. Because they will then, because they're not risk averse if they're investing in this space, but they will say, okay, well, we don't care about that. I mean, they will care about it if you've ripped it all off of Microsoft and you're you've done a clone site. I mean, they're not going to get anywhere near you. But if there are minor sort of infractions about, for example, you've got a couple of photos up there from a Flickr stream or something, and you arguably are using it in a commercial context, well, they're probably not going to be too worried about that, because worst case scenario, you get told about it, you pull them down, and that's probably the end of that, isn't it? So, but please do keep the folder, because it really makes life a whole lot easier. Spend a lot of time going through the warranties. It's always worth speaking to whoever you decide to use to do it, to have like a 30-minute sort of, explanation of what is involved, for them to give you some examples so that you can go away and do it. Give it to us. We will typically have to spend some time, however great a job you do on it. We've done loads of them, and this will be your first time, so there will obviously be changes that we have to make, but it just makes life a whole lot simpler. I mean, that would be my sort of big takeaway of the whole thing, really. That, no hard and fast rules, and do the best deal that you can. And this sort of thing is really valuable, because ask around as many people as you can who've done these things before, to try and get as much data about what you think the position is as possible. Because with knowledge comes the ability to negotiate, right? What's that? Can you some more pizza? Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. Brilliant.
Well, yeah. On that happy note, thank you, Sam.
So what's the swag from South by Southwest? Can you do that?
Yeah. What are we doing? Are we going to
draw lots?
We haven't. Yeah, Barry very kindly brought his swag bag